Hello and welcome to SiGMA. Joining me right now, I have Stefan Nelson, who is the Group CFO of LeoVegas. So welcome, Stefan. And you've just been acquired by MGM. How is that going to change things for LeoVegas?
Yeah, it's exciting times. I think it's going to change. On one level, it's not going to change that much. We're still an independent company, and we have our kind of current strategic plans in place. On the other hand, we have this world of new opportunity with MGM, with their super IP brands. They have, of course, deep pockets financially and can support us in growing the business even faster. So, if anything, I think we have more opportunities and more competitive advantages to grow from now.
It's interesting, this sort of convergence between the land-based and the online. Do you see that as being a big advantage then?
I think so, because we bring to the table, of course, our tech platform. I think we have a very experienced group of individuals running the business. We understand the online environment. But of course, the world is changing, and with MGM, we have a much bigger opportunity to combine the strengths of both companies into something bigger and stronger.
At LeoVegas, you've taken very much a strong decision to firmly focus on regulated markets. Which of those markets do you see as having the most potential at the moment?
It's a difficult question. I think all markets have potential. I think the regulated markets become, to some extent, more complex and more challenging because there's a lot of more local requirements, etc. But on the other hand, that also is an opportunity for companies like us, where we have, for period of years, invested in our technology and our compliance and safer gambling procedures. So I think we are in a position where we can take market share in these markets. And remember, like even markets like UK and Italy, they are complex, but they're huge. So there's a lot of opportunity.
And obviously, talking of regulated markets, Ontario in Canada is newly regulated. You've got a license, you're up and running there now, I understand. How have you found it?
We were actually one of the first operators to got a license. It's still early days. I think the market has had a few child diseases, but it's super exciting. We have 2 brands live in the market, and of course also with the proximity to the US and MGM, I think we also see more opportunities to see what we can do together as a group.
Some people have found it a bit trickier than they thought to get into Ontario. Why do you think that might be?
Well, it's not an entirely new market, right? It's still been a market that has been live, so to speak, offshore, so it's not like virgin territory. So I think if you're an entirely new operator to the market, it takes time to build your player base and get adapted to the player habits, and many of the players already have their favorite brands. So I don't think it's not entirely the same thing as a US state.
If I were to, going back to regulation again, ask you to look into your crystal ball and say where we might see regulation coming up in the next few years, what would you think?
Well, there's a lot happening, not least in Latin America. I would say Brazil is probably one of the markets that is closest on the agenda. It's a market that we think is super exciting, and it's a huge market, as you know. Some actually positive news today I heard from Finland. I don't know much yet, but seems to be some talks about opening up for a future regulation in the Finnish market, which is of course close to home for us, being a Swedish company from the region. I think we're seeing more and more of this wave now for markets that have previously not discussed regulation, that are starting to look at it, but it will take time in many markets. But the trend is crystal clear in my mind.
That's good to hear. Right now, what would you say was the biggest challenge facing your company and online gaming in general?
Wow, life is full of challenges, right? But no, I think actually access to talent, I think, is always going to be our biggest challenge. We need the best people. We have huge ambitions and want to take our company to the next level. So we're always looking for the best possible talent and both retaining and finding new ones. To me, that's a challenge that we always need to deal with. Then, if you look at in a bigger sense of things, of course, the market is a bunch of different markets. Regulation can be volatile, and early days in new regulated markets also is about educating regulators, and that's always a challenge, but that's nothing we're not used to.
You mentioned human resources. That's interesting. It's a theme I hear time and time again. Why is it that we have such staff shortages in the industry?
I think it's still a new industry, right? And it's a lot of specific talent, not only understanding the online environment, but also understanding the gaming specifics. It's not that easy to find people with the knowledge, the experience, but also the hunger. And a lot of the best people, to be honest, are starting their own shops, right?
Do we need a gaming academy, for example?
Yeah, definitely. That would be great. I know, I mean, we're here in Malta now. I know that Malta is investing generally in creating, a hub for technology, and that's I think, very good. Then I think tech staff, will always be a challenge, right?
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Well, great to be here and looking forward to the future.
Thank you very much for joining us, Stefan. That's great. Thank you.